between two seas. There's a way. Of a 1,000-year tradition. After a 7 days battle, in a crowd of brave fighters, only one will be the Sea Master.
Just touching. There's still a red shot to pull out from the back end. 73 on the left-hand side. There's still a red shot to pull out from the back end. Mark Cavendish sprinting for home. Davis is on his wheel. Going flat out at the moment. Mark Cavendish, he's going to take it.
The thing I'm most proud of is to have kept this newspaper in line with its principles. I've made many errors and committed sins also, but the approach has never changed. Another thing that I hold dear is the wonderful friendships I have with the people who work for and with me, but above all for the respect that has lasted between those that have moved on. Those who have continued to make contributions to this newspaper because they have created a patrimony and memories. On my roads you have suffered. On my body you looked for glory. You challenged me, and me? I let you conquer me. You got to know me. You have felt the heat coming from me. A testament to time. A history of the human soul. A lasting memory. I am Italy, and this is my Italia. That pedals.
E siamo all'ottava puntata del nostro
We're at the
viaggio
8th
nella
edition of
storia
our
del Giro
series on the Giro d'Italia, this time of a more recent race, the 100th Giro, the last one, a race that saw head-to-head between Menchov and De Luca, Russian versus the man from Abruzzo. His pride for his region is well known. Still, whose Giro was it for you, Auro?
Well, for me it was Lance Armstrong's Giro initially, as we'd all thought he'd hung up his cycling boots, so to speak, but instead he staged a comeback, and he did hit right here on our roads, and there was a lot of debate about what he could pull out of the bag, and the best bit of news we could have had was that he stuck in there right to the bitter end. He'd won the Giro, Tours and the Vuelta, but this time it was Menchov who emerged victorious. He may not be the most popular of riders, but it was a victory that was hard-earned and thoroughly deserved.
It's a Giro we'd like to dedicate to Candido Cannavò, long-standing editor of Gazzetta dello Sport. Recently passed away, was a man who gave so much in terms of competence and loving care. Also dedicated to him was the white jersey worn on the back of the Belgian Kevin Seeldreyers, a rider who we may well hear of in the future. It was also a great Giro in the way in which crowds showed their passion. We always say it's easy to do so. There were never so many people on the sides of the roads. It was a Giro that had a fantastic popular support, actually.
The tour was a great success, despite the controversial route changes, which saw the Giro start in the Dolomites and then head to the mountains in the south.
I'd like to point out, all of you, another particularity on this DVD. There's a short film, it's 5 minutes or so, which the director Pupi Avati wanted to donate to the Giro d'Italia.
Like a true Bolognese, he wanted us to see the toughest bend on the route through his eyes, which is in San Luca di Bologna, no less. Enjoy watching the 100th Giro.
1909, 2:53 a.m., Milan. 2009, 5:30 p.m., Rome. Start. From Ghana to Menchov. A climb. A 100-year tour that has always been young, bubbling and compulsive. Riders fighting it out, head-to-heads decided by split seconds. New faces heading into the future.
Cavendish leads Pataki. Yes, it's Cavendish, then Pataki. Third, Alan Davis. Fourth, Hunter. And fifth is Farah.
Champions have come and gone, and legends have been born. Yes, they are recognized as heroes, and Italy herself has changed, changing her garments on her pedal forward into modernity. It's an Italy caressed by groups of riders who, with their Giro, have exposed her to the world, allowing all to discover her hidden gems, the accomplices of heroic acts.
Over tarmac, over paving stones, over cobbles, and even tracks off-road.
Big and small, all admire this enchanting fairy tale. They've fallen in love with cycling, impressed with the hard work, the sacrifice, and all in the name of the Maglia Rosa. All to say, I love you, Giro d'Italia.
Maybe he can do it, let's see.
Yep, I told you so, there he goes.
He's making his move now, off he goes, he's pulling ahead now.
100 years in 1,709 days. 328,316.8 kilometers. More than 8 times the circumference of the world. And in the warm embrace of Rome, she won, always and only her. The Maglia Rosa.
The idea of ending in Rome came from the need to give the riders in the 100th Giro d'Italia race a strong image on their arrival. And I don't think there's another city in the world with the same visual impact as Rome. And I believe, personally, that the gamble paid off when at 5:25 p.m. on the 31st of May, the 100th Giro d'Italia engulfed the Imperial Forums.
Rome and her gladiators. Rome and her citizens were called upon to judge the Russian, and they could not have given him anything but the thumbs up. Rome and her beauty. The road from the Altare della Patria and to the arrival at the Colosseum with a stampede of contestants fighting not against wild animals, but against the clock.
Yes, Denis Menchov sets off this morning on the last stretch with a 20-second advantage over Danilo De Luca.
The 100th Giro didn't close without a final twist. Here, listen to the applause and shouts for De Luca, others for Menchov, and the rain that came so unwantedly that tried to stop them or at least make their road more difficult. The Russian climbs the Quirinal Hill. The rain ends but has wetted Rome's cobblestones, making them oh so dangerous.
It's clear to those finishing the Giro that it ends in a wet and wild Rome, and so these last 14.4 kilometres must be taken on with utmost care, above all by Denis Menchov. He can't take any risks at this point. He can express himself for sure, express his skills as a time trial man, but not the expense of falling. He really has to come home without an accident this time.
And Danilo De Luca, the captain of the LTL Farnese team, has started. Fine athlete, born in 1976, started his affair with the Giro d'Italia 2 years ago. He's one of the few cyclists who, during the course of his career, has done really well on the big tours, on the classics.
Denis Menchov is at the start line.
He hails from Orel in Russia. And he starts as it looks like the weather is about to undergo a change.
Hold on, it's starting to rain on the end line. Rain is playing its part in the closing stages. Danilo's got the wind against him. Everything's up for grabs, everything that's left of these intensive 3 weeks. They're giving it all in these last few kilometres.
Baccani!
Well, in this section also Denis Menchov is on paper the favourite because of a long straight which alternates between tarmac and cobbles. In this section Menchov also has the wind against him. 8 kilometres to the end for the Russian. Yes, here's a favourable section to Menchov, this long straight where he can make the most of his special time trial skills.
And you're looking at Danilo De Luca, about 150 metres from the finishing line. He's down 32 seconds on Menchov. And De Luca here finishes an excellent Giro d'Italia.
De Luca has just crossed the finish line and has fought to the bitter end, but Menchov seems to be on a motorbike and has gained no less than 30 seconds in the last 5 kilometres.
We're going over once again to a section on cobbles where it is raining, where Danilo's overcome another challenge. Danilo De Luca has finished, but Denis Menchov must instead still take on a few bends.
It's all over, but then comes the surprise.
Last kilometre here for the Russian. This fine cyclist in the Maglia Rosa within sight. Goodness me, he's fallen! It's over, he's lost the bike! Denis Menchov has fallen on the straight!
Падение! О, Господи, Боже мой! Аккуратнее здесь, да что вы трете камеру? Incredibile!
I cannot believe it, he's fallen on the straight!
But he could still do it. I mean, it might mean him losing about 20 seconds.
Menchov fallen on the straight. 19.27 was De Luca's time, remember.
Menchov opted for endurance tactics. By that I mean defence. He wrapped up his Giro against the clock, and apart from a couple of moves, he always stayed on the defensive. In other words, he managed to control the race, and really all he was missing was a bit of punch.
A huge roar went up from the crowd and then everything went silent. Everyone's keen to see whether the clock will favour the Italian.
Menchov has finished in 19.06. As it turns out, he could have won the Giro even if he hadn't had that nasty fall in the last kilometre. The Giro is his.
Должен, он доезжает! Финиширует Денис, и есть победа! 24 секунды он уступает Коновалову, но привозит более 20 Даниле Де Луки и плюс 18, которые были.
I have to thank the crowd for my second place. I've never had such an enthusiastic crowd behind me before. It's absolutely fantastic. Of course I won for my region, and I most certainly let my people know that you should never ever give up. Once again I have proved this because I risked absolutely everything today. I got off to an incredibly fast start with my road bike because I wanted to take risks, because I knew it would bucket down, and so I did everything I could.
The people have pushed their way through the safety barriers, escaping the vigil eye of the stewards, who don't seem to mind the Pacific invasion, as they know the fans only want to get a glimpse of the award ceremony, which follows after the physical suffering and agony of such an exciting race. The group is making its way through the crowd towards the Quirinal, where President Napolitano will officially award the cup to the centenary Maglia Rosa.
Is this the most important victory of your life?
Sei contentissimo quando caíste, parò un momento, ha pensato che poteva perderlo questo Giro, no? Bueno, tenía información que llevaba 30 y algo segundos, entonces con tranquilidad quería coger bicicleta nueva y seguir.
Dennis Menchov thanks everyone here at his arrival, saying that he was aware he had a 31-second lead, so all he had to do was keep with De Luca.
We're handing over now to Gino Bartali for the final stages of our programme, with some rather sad news, but news which offers symbolic closure on the show. Thanks for watching.
Life is like the Giro d'Italia. Never seems to end, but at a certain point, you come to the last leg, and perhaps you didn't even expect it.
This was a thrilling Giro right until the last kilometre, a true man's race, a battle within battles. Right from the very beginning, even its presentation in the austere Fenice Theatre in Venice was uncertain and hard fought for.
Grazie.
Thank you.
Buonasera.
Here we are, good evening from Venice, good evening from the Fenice Theatre.
Grazie, amici.
Opening footage helped to give us some idea of just how extraordinary and special this edition of the Giro d'Italia is.
La Gazzetta has organised the Giro d'Italia for the past 100 years, so it's a historic event for us. And it would be stupendous for any journalist. So imagine what it's like for a journalist from the Gazzetta.
For a cycling journalist of the Gazzetta dello Sport, Giro d'Italia is the best thing life has to offer. In other words, it's the meaning of this profession.
The Giro is the event of the year. The event that keeps you up all night, which doesn't allow you to eat properly. It's when you lose weight, because these 3 weeks, or a month perhaps is more precise, are the essence of life, and that's what it's about.
However, now time has come to take a step forward. The 100th anniversary of our Giro. What better way to find out all about it than from our man himself, race and Giro manager, Angelo Zomignan.
We've put heart and soul into this Giro. We've sweated blood and tears and worked scrupulously on the ethics, on the fair play and on the globalisation of the Giro d'Italia. We've reached the point of looking tradition straight in the eye, of thinking about the present, but we've also asked for something from the future. We have to lay the foundations now of building something special for the next 100 years of the Giro.
Our aim is to make it become one of the most important sport events in the world, so our crusade has only just started, really. We've got a long way to go yet. We're going to unveil it?
Yes, if you want me to.
Well, we've been joined here by two lovely girls who are helping us to reveal it. Here it is. Here it is. And here we have it, a ritual, this somewhat sacred journey. I know my choice of words might sound a bit over the top, but we're nevertheless talking about an adventure of the mind, as it's not only an adventure of the body.
I think there's a recipe, a certain alchemy, if you like, that's based on 3 important elements in order to have a good Giro. You've got to have good athletes, of course, great cyclists, great champions. That makes it spectacular. Then, of course, you need stunning scenery and countryside, and in that respect, Italy certainly has breathtaking landscapes. And then you need a great crowd. I think these are the most important elements, and if you have these 3 elements, then everything else follows.
I think it's the best race in the world, certainly the most important. You know, seeing as I'm Italian and I've been watching the Giro d'Italia since I was a little boy. It used to go right past my house.
I think I can speak for all Italian cyclists that the Giro d'Italia is the most important in the world.
We designed
the Giro in order to try and make it as spectacular as possible. Apart from the national cyclists, the Italian cyclists who take part in the race, we always try to bring all of the most important and finest cyclists in the world to our Giro. And this year we managed to get Lance Armstrong, who has just returned to professional cycling, of course, after previously having announced retirement, and he chose our Giro as his first important race of the year. We've also managed to get Sastre, who won last year's Tour de France, of course. We got Menchov, who turned out to be decisive in the end, as did Leipheimer, and all the great foreign cyclists. Needless to say, they have to race against the Italians, who have also won many Giros in the past.
Lots of people used to ask me, why don't you do the Giro, or the Vuelta, or the World Championships, or the Paris-Roubaix? We were quite nervous about changing. However, a year later, after a long absence from professional racing, my expectation levels aren't so high. So I think the time has finally come to have a go at this experience, no matter what. As I've always said, I regretted never having raced a Giro. I have loads of old friends in Italy, and I spent 4 years in Como. And next year will be a special year for this race.
A hard-fought Giro, right from the beginning to end, where the imperial forums found their emperor. This is the acknowledgement of a race that has become the history of Italy, for the intense challenge it offers, for all the crowd and fans, for the splendid cities it passed through, but above all because nothing was ever certain until that last thrust on the pedal. This Giro had the crowd spellbound. It was exciting, nerve-wracking, and De Luca never gave up. It was his Giro, even without the Maglia Rosa.
Danilo De Luca was Denis Menchov's greatest rival. He gave him a real run for his money right up until the final leg, never letting him out of his sight, right up until the time trial down in Rome. And then how can we forget Menchov's fall on the cobblestones in Rome with only 900 metres to the finishing line? It looked then as though luck was on De Luca's side.
But where did Menchov win the Giro? And where did De Luca lose it?
As a matter of fact, De Luca lost the Giro in the time trial in Vivo Maggiore, and the two-stage victories he achieved weren't enough. Do you remember Cuneo to Pinerolo in the Maglia Rosa, for example? Cuneo to Pinerolo, 60 years after Fausto Coppi pulled off his feet there. On the other hand, De Luca never stopped believing in himself, which makes him the great attacker of this Giro. Every hill, every split was a chance for him to give Menchov something to think about.
Duello di Luca-Menchov, credo che
the duel with Menchov was, in my opinion, the best advert for the Giro d'Italia since perhaps, I don't know, the year 2000 maybe. Both world-class cyclists fighting it out, each one with their own particular characteristics, and they were fighting right up until the last day. Two really fine athletes who distinguished themselves for fair play, and who raced alongside one another without the slightest ill feeling, but rivals still within the limits of sporting competition.
It was a back-to-front Giro where the route made the difference. In the beginning it was the Alps and then the Apennines, which were the mountains to play the leading role.
This 100th Giro d'Italia was very modern and very exciting. It allowed for no breaks or rest, and it inspired Petacchi from the first day to the last.
It's a tough Giro because there are no easy legs, right from the first to the last. It never gave the racers a chance to rest. There were none of those famous legs when you can freewheel, relax, take it easy for a moment, because there are loads of stages that could prove decisive. And as a consequence, you have to start off fast and finish fast too.
Start off fast and finish fast. There's no doubt this is not your usual Giro. You can't afford to set out if you're not 100% fit, as has been the case over the years, because by the 4th or 5th day there are already two really tough finishes. So you've got to be 100% fit and hope to stay that way until the time trials down in Rome.
We don't have the big mountains, Sestriere, which is the mountain peak that beats all others as far as history is concerned.
Needless to say, the uphill climbs make a huge difference, and it depends on which hills are chosen to make that difference. There's a saying in cycling that translates as, an uphill climb puts everyone in his rightful place.
I don't know, the important thing is to win the Giro in Rome and then wait and see what the Giro d'Italia decides on the mountain climbs, you know?
Well, if we put a leg in the Dolomites in the fourth or fifth, then I'm sure, absolutely sure, we wouldn't have made it to Rome with two racers breaking away with a 20-second lead. Not to mention those last exciting minutes, which we certainly didn't plan for exactly, but fate placed on a silver plate for us.
The imaginary G of Giro and the Gazzetta ends in Rome, the eternal city just like the eternal Giro. And having left its mark in the hearts of those Italians who are less fortunate than ourselves right now, those in Abruzzo. So it's back to Venice for the team time trials. Now it's the cyclists who prepare to race into an unforgettable event with spectacular races for all those keen cycling fans out there who've been eagerly looking forward to this centenary Giro.
So everything's ready for the first act. A time trial over 20 kilometers and 500 meters on the tarmac roads of Venice's seafront.
Well, there's no doubt about it, I'm out to win this Giro, but only one man can win, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens, you know, when it finishes in Rome. I know I've done everything I can, so I've had a good Giro so far, and I'm pleased with my performance, whatever else happens.
There are loads of bends in these Italian roads, but that's Italy for you. We have to be careful and not underestimate the dangers. This is what makes it a tougher Giro than all the others.
Just starting off now, there they go. The Fuji Servetto team, led by Stefano Zanini and Sabino Angoitia. Another 400 meters to go for Lance Armstrong and Lee Palmer.
Yeah, they might lose third place here. LPR could be ousted from the podium. Lance Armstrong and Lee Palmer, who's being taken.
Right, we have the official news that the Maglia Rosa goes to Cavendish. Let's see what Astana can do. He could go into third.
The team did a great job. Everyone knows that Italy is my second country, and this is my second most important victory after the Milan-San Remo.
Columbia and Slip Team, well-organised teams for this type of race. We're here with the aim of making points in the overall table. I think we did quite well on the whole.
Yes, it's a final sprint because we are expecting a final sprint in the second leg today from Jesolo to Trieste, right along the seafront, and then into Piazza dell'Unità d'Italia. Few seconds lead, the uphill climb is over. A bend to the right, that hairpin bend. We can also see Mark Cavendish there behind.
We're just coming round the bend now, another 300 metres to go. And he's trying to push past Pataki. Pataki and Cavendish really close together. Cavendish is on Pataki's wheel, he's trying to overtake him now, but Pataki's in front. Pataki! And Pataki takes it by a length. Alessandro Petacchi wins the stage. What a fantastic final sprint. I've learned a lot after 14 years. I've learned lots of things from the Giro. However, every Giro is its own story. Every Giro is a fight in itself. It's a daily battle. Exhaustion is a constant companion, and you have to learn how to listen to your body, to what your body needs.
Good evening from Valdobbiadene, where the third leg of the Giro d'Italia finishes. The Valdobbiadene leg is a 198-kilometer stretch. This is the land of good Prosecco. However, the man who toasted victory was Alessandro Petacchi. A second win for him, meaning he takes the pink jersey from Mark Cavendish.
Keep the noise down seems to be the gesture. Alijet has gone past the cyclist from La Spezia, bringing home his second victory in the Giro after yesterday's success in Trieste, and he takes the Maglia Rosa from Cavendish.
I think I did a great job today. I was really strong, very fast. I was always in the lead on the uphill, and I stayed there up front, feeling good. This Maglia Rosa is the result of a lot of great teamwork and a great pitaki.
We're off to Trentino in San Martino di Castrozza, an unforgiving mountain climb of 162 kilometers. The mountain calls and De Luca answers. The creme de la creme will be battling it out on the finishing line in San Martino di Castrozza. The big men are here for the first of the mountain stages, and De Luca is about to play his trump card.
Yeah, this is my finish. I won well, but we knew I could do it. And today and tomorrow are absolutely vital for me, because I have to try to make up as much ground as I can before the time trial.
But the best cyclists will be playing their trump cards on the Siusi Alps. This is the key stage of the whole Giro.
The Giro is celebrating his 100th birthday here in the Dolomites.
127 brave men started out on the first great adventure of the Giro exactly 100 years ago from Piazzale Loreto in Milan. 100 years ago to the day.
De Luca won in San Martino di Castrozza yesterday, earning himself the green jersey, and today he has to try to change that colour between the Sciglia and Sassalungo. He has to get the Maglia Rosa off the Swede Lovkvist.
Just to remind you that the uphill climb starts 25 kilometers from the finishing line. That's 8 kilometers at 6%.
Menchov sets off on his quest in the snow, with the crowd behind him taking advantage so far of the work done by LPR and Liquigas.
They've reached the mountains, the Siusi Alps, just outside Bolzano. Over the last 100 kilometers, these athletes have broken away, leaving the main pack behind.
And now this is when Lance Armstrong breaks off from the leading pack to fall behind.
5 kilometers to go, and Basso and De Luca are driving forward, dropping first Armstrong, then Pelizzotti, Cunego, Garzelli, and making it hard even for Sastre Lovkvist.
He's not giving up, though.
He's still with them because they've actually slowed down a bit. See how even Basso's moved? This allows the Maglia Rosa to move back in with the pack.
But not the Russian, who takes advantage of De Luca's break in the final 500 meters to pedal even harder and leave them all behind. He's the winner. He's now well on his way to getting that Maglia Rosa.
Menchov could try to break away from the others. He's got great speed for a final sprint.
Oh, he's off.
Looks like he's holding back, maintaining reserves of energy. Carlos Sastre makes an attempt with Menchov. Menchov goes past De Luca too. Denis Menchov with De Luca. Another 200 meters, and it's the Russian Denis Menchov. Well, we saw something very similar to this in the Pyrenees in the Tour de France. Menchov with De Luca. Menchov once again up front in the lead. It's the Rabobank captain leading. De Luca doesn't seem to have the strength to fight back. Menchov still in the lead. 100 meters to go for him. Can he do it? De Luca is still there. He's trying to fight, but Menchov maintains a safe lead. Denis Menchov! And the Russian now, a real contender for the Maglia Rosa. A real contender. De Luca finishes second.
From high up in the Siusi Alps, De Luca is smiling with his pink jersey. He knows that Menchov is a danger and that he's there up front. But this man from Abruzzo can be cold-blooded and lethal when he decides to apply the psychological pressure, and he's out to win.
Danilo, you've got your collar, it's pink.
I know, it even suits me. Well, joking aside, it was a target I'd set for myself today. I made it. I'm absolutely delighted. It was a great battle up that hill. Dropped quite a few, though I'm surprised at how just many stayed with the leading pack. Like I said, it's a tough Giro, battle's only begun, so nothing's certain in this race.
De Luca winds his way down from the Dolomites wearing the leader's jersey. After a 2-year period in which he was out injured, Basso is looking good and shows he can push hard on those hills. However, Menchov and Sastry are pedaling behind in silence, waiting to make their move.
Here we are on the uphill climb of San Martino, first time ever here with this 6-kilometer climb. Yeah, the chasing pack has also started its climb, bend to the left, and now the last descent of the day back down to San Martino.
Stefano Garzelli is pushing hard. He broke away from the pack though very early doors, and he might pay for that yet.
He's flying along. He's got 3 men behind him. They're all from the Liquigas Doimo.
Look out, here we go. The race is
Pelizzotti
on.
dives ahead.
There goes Franco Pelizzotti.
We're still another 3 kilometers to go to the Mountain Grand Prix. Danilo Di Luca is up there as he was watching out for Franco Pelizzotti to sprint. Went with him actually. He's right on his wheel.
Here we're back with Garzelli, although it looks as though he'll be overtaken by Franco Pelizzotti, who just seems much stronger now.
Oh, he's caught up with them. Hard to keep pace with Franco Pelizzotti. Visconti and Garzelli are showing signs of fatigue.
Here, as you can see, on the checkpoint, there are 10 kilometers to go to the finish line. De Luca has just arrived. There he is, turning the corner. 10 meters in front of Pelizzotti. This is the leading 2. Green for Pelizzotti. And they have upped the pace. We're just outside Pinerolo. I mentioned to you all yesterday that he had a dream about coming in first place in Pinerolo. It's a final sprint by De Luca, and it's a splendid one. The Maglia Rosa is out there on his own. Splendid piece of sprinting by Danilo De Luca, and a great reception he's getting from the crowd. The race leader has now won the 10th leg after San Martino di Castrozza, and it's Pinerolo.
De Luca's Maglia Rosa celebrations lasted 7 legs. The Russian, who was always lying there in the wings, never missed a beat. He sounded his second and fatal alarm in the time trials of Sestri Levante Rio Maggiore.
An unusual time trial, and we'll find out just why that was. Starting grid was a bit of a mess, but never mind.
More than 100 minutes alone, with a strong headwind along the route as it winds down. The Sestri Levante time trial in Rio Maggiore is absolutely vital if you want to win the 100th Giro d'Italia. There's a 613 metres climb to Passo del Bracco along the Aurelian Way.
What a great race, and nothing like we've ever seen before. Start was absolutely crucifying.
Then it's down to Levanto to embark on the scenic route offered by the Cinque Terre, 548 metres above sea level, just before the end of the route.
One of the most decisive stages in this Giro d'Italia. I've always said it, I'm fine, I have to defend myself because still a time trial, even though somewhat unusual one, really tough, but like I said, I have to defend myself.
Arrival in Rio Maggiore. Tough test here, tricky one too. The time trial men will be out to put on their best performances. Competition's fierce, but they won't have any straight runs to unleash full power. Those who have to defend positions will make the best of a winding route with a lot of pace changes. Still, it's a long way to go, 60 kilometres, hell of a long way.
There's only 1 minute 20 between Menchov and De Luca. Menchov's the first to go. He isn't perfect on the bike, his arms are too wide, he sways too much, but the Maglia Rosa is in front of him and he wants it. But in order to get it, he has to pedal harder.
Gran Premio della Montagna.
Mountain Grand Prix for Denis Menchov.
Menchov is nearly there. Yes, he's done it. He takes it, an easy win, a long way in front of the second cyclist.
The Russian has dominated from the first to the last in this most feared and difficult stage of the 60.6 kilometers.
Right now, De Luca is losing the Maglia Rosa. It looks like Denis Menchov will be the new owner of it.
Kilometer after kilometer, De Luca constantly kept up to date on what the Russian is doing in front of him. After the time trial, it's now time for the battle between the Russian and Italian, which could be seen as more psychological than physical.
I thought he would lose him at the 2 minute mark. He's still here and he might still make it.
1:46. The Giro is still up for grabs. Denis Menchov has 2 kilometers left to the finishing line. And there he hits the last bend.
Final sprint.
Leg and maglia rosa for him. 12 years since Pavel Tonkov. We now have another Russian in pink, and it's Denis Menchov.
Final sprint for Danilo Di Luca, another 150 meters for him.
Less than 2 minutes from Menchov. Loses the pink jersey, but not his chances of winning this Giro d'Italia.
Yeah, no, Menchov went off really fast. I defended myself well, so I'm pleased.
You did great. However, unfortunately, I can't say the same for Basso and Rogers.
Well, you know, it was a tough time trial. It seemed to go on forever. 60 kilometers is a hell of a long way to go. Got off to a good start, but then I found it hard on the second hill. Anyway, I'm pleased.
They were going uphill for 75 minutes out of the 90. Only 15 minutes downhill. It was a very, very tough race. Well, this type of race really puts the cyclists to the test. The crowd along the route and the people at home want to see these cyclists doing something that only world-class champions can do. And this was a very good example. I think it was a risk, but it paid off in the end.
Di Luca in cyclamen. Menchov in pink.
È stata una vittoria importante.
It was an important victory. I don't think it's a decisive victory as far as the Giro is concerned. However, next few stages will undoubtedly be important for everyone. I want to dedicate this victory to Pedro Orillo.
A cyclist never fakes it. He's condemned to heroism.
Well, thanks. That's all for the fans of Marzo Brusagin. Good night from our evening special on the Giro.
The following contest's on Monte Petrano, where the Russian takes advantage once again of the Abruzzese generosity and delivers him his right hook. It's already become a battle between two titanic forces.
It's very hot. He struggled so much yesterday. Basically, there were no stages in which the racers were able to recover any energy. Yeah, the added problem here is that water is running out in the cars. Racers are grabbing what they can on these climbs. They usually don't grab any water or drinks from the spectators, but here they do, and very often too.
It's an unbelievably hot day. We see Liquigas starting to take control of the situation with their 2 stars. The Bibioni Dolphin, Pelizzotti, and Ivan Basso, who's got good legs regardless of his recent 2-year stop.
4 minutes and 15 seconds. That's Jaroslav Popovic's lead, meaning he's also added 1 minute on the descent.
Sastry takes advantage of it, and at the 3rd kilometer of the ascent he says ciao to his group and sprints off to catch up with Popovic, who's ahead by 1 minute.
Everyone realizes that today Carlos Sastre is on a mission. Winner of the Alpe d'Huez in the last Tour de France begins his attack.
He sees him, catches up and overtakes him about 1.5 miles before the finishing line, while a battle ensues behind him. Basso sprints off too when there's 6 kilometers to go. Menchov doesn't respond. He waits for Di Luca, who shortly after lengthens the pace himself, followed closely by the Russian. They catch up with Basso 700 meters from the end, until Menchov jumps in front of Di Luca after having been behind him until the top of the hill, stealing 2nd place and leaving Di Luca with a meager 3rd spot.
Both Denis Menchov and Danilo Di Luca lose a few points. Overall classification at the end says that Denis Menchov is still in command. He's gained 5 seconds against Di Luca, while 3rd place goes to Carlos Sastre. He's 2:52 from the 2nd place racer.
It's a great show, fueled by the heart and by pumping legs. Even on rest day, the Giro doesn't stop. The champions mount their bikes to bring a smile to the people of L'Aquila.
Martedì 26 maggio, seconda giornata di riposo.
Tuesday, 26th of May, second day of rest for the Giro d'Italia. Giro pays homage to one of its greatest heroes, the Abruzzo region. Meeting at 10:30, on the move at 11, colourful group of racers, ex-champions and representatives of the Giro. Men pedal through the areas afflicted by this tragic disaster.
The day after the pause, De Luca is back up the mountain, the blockhouse.
The three leaders, the new leaders in the Giro d'Italia are Denis Menchov, who has won 2 Vueltas, Danilo De Luca, winner of the 2007 Giro, and Carlos Sestre, who won the Tour de France last year. So the winners of the Giro, Tour and Vuelta occupy the first 3 spots in this centenary year Giro. Now live images straight from Chieti, where leg number 17 is about to set off. It's Chieti to Blockhouse.
Sastre, Basso and Garzelli make their sprints and Pelizzotti breaks away.
Less than 6 kilometres to the finishing line now for Pelizzotti. Broke away about 8 kilometres back at the Dolphin of Bibbione. We're in the Maiella National Park, 1,650 metres above sea level, and as you can see, there's now a mist gathering around the finishing line area.
Yes, it's a breakaway that evolved around the -7 mark and was fought out right to the end because the De Luca-Menchov battle was bringing them back up. Once again, the Abruzzese forced his pace and then kept his stride steady, while the Russian just kept his eye on his back wheel.
Danilo Di Luca per questo finale.
Danilo Di Luca cycling like a man possessed at the end of this stage. And when the crowd saw these very stirring images, a huge cheer broke out.
Garzelli takes advantage of it too. He returns from the back in a fantastic display of strength and courage.
A very brave performance from Stefano Garzelli, really putting his heart into everything out there. It'll be another sprint finish between Menchov and De Luca.
Just a few hundred meters from the line, the Russian seems to give in to a burst from De Luca.
Still about 300 meters lead for Pelizzotti, but look at De Luca. He just will not give up. He wants to win here on the blockhouse. And it's going to be De Luca.
Garzelli breaks away
and
too.
He steals another few seconds from Menchov today.
The man from Abruzzo can't do much more. He's got Garzelli in front and he ends in 3rd place, gaining 13 seconds on the Maglia Rosa.
Second place for Garzelli, De Luca 3rd, and Menchov is definitely losing ground. He's lost the 8 bonus seconds, plus another 3 or 4 in the final sprint.
A 26 seconds gap on Menchov. The end of another important day of the Giro, with superb action keeping everyone on the edge of their seat. A day which saw a triumphant win for Franco Pelizzotti, together with the attack by a determined Stefano Garzelli.
And let's see the mayor of Chieti right here going to award Danilo Di Luca with the point strip. Looks more like the carnival in Rio here than the blockhouse. Look at the cheer for this great racer. The Abruzzo people embrace their hero.
The blockhouse is also Lance Armstrong's day. Here's the Texan attacking again after 4 years.
Well, you've just mentioned Lance Armstrong there, Davide. Do you think the American still has what it takes?
Sure, he's doing well. He'll try and keep up with the head of the group. It's a climb which might just suit his qualities today. I mean, today's Armstrong, as 3-4 years ago, the man was suited for any climb, track or stopwatch race.
We expected nothing less. It's always a great pleasure to see him glide on that bike with his agile pedaling.
Hold on a second, I've just seen a Liquigas breakaway and Armstrong is right up there too. Armstrong catching up. Schmidt and Pelizzotti are there with him as well. Lance Armstrong determined to make a race of it today. Nothing left to lose. Very personal moment for Armstrong and a very beautiful moment as well. Goodness me, seeing Armstrong break away again brings back so many memories.
He can feel the air in his face again. He's floating between Pelizzotti and the group. They catch up with him again, but nonetheless it remains a great moment, great emotion.
Well, the impression that I have here is that Armstrong is cycling within himself a little. He had the courage to make a push for it, make a break for it. Not easy now though, Pelizzotti is getting further away. He's got a very different pace onto the American, as you can see in your pictures there. Armstrong waiting to be caught by one of the other racers and perhaps try and keep pace with them if he can. It's interesting though to see Armstrong back at this level after 3 years of absence.
Armstrong
was a real player. He also tried to create an attack, which unfortunately didn't come to anything, but he finished 12th after 3 years and at 37 years of age, paying the price for that recent collarbone fracture that he sustained. Let's say he kept his word, he gave the most he could, but he just didn't win. It would have been unnatural, though, to expect him to win anything, really. Victory would have brought other types of problems after all, and it's an Armstrong who I think he'll try and improve in the next few months.
2
days before the time trial in Rome, the race is in Campania, between Avellino and Naples, from the beauty of the Amalfi Coast, recognized as a World UNESCO Heritage Site since 1997, to the climbs which take the racers all the way up to the Vesuvius.
Today they start in Avellino at 1 p.m. local time. 164 kilometers to be covered today. Huge crowd cheering and waving as the athletes are ready to go.
The last front on which the battle might be won seems to be indeed Vesuvius. Crowds of people line the roadside all the way from Avellino to Ercolano. Above all soars the mouth of the approaching volcano, which will no doubt give us the final word. Sastre gathers momentum, and had he not slipped back at the blockhouse, he'd certainly now be competing for the Maglia Rosa.
It's a completely different situation today for Sastre compared to the one at the blockhouse. It's clear that the short leg that day didn't help his plans. Seemed particularly determined though, and he even takes advantage of this distance with the best in the table. He seemed to have left room for him to break away.
Basso acts as a trampoline and becomes a great ally for Pelizzotti, who tries to consolidate his third place even more.
Basso makes a sprint 7 kilometers from the end. More of a progression perhaps rather than an out-and-out sprint, but he's showing well.
De Luca and Menchov continue their battle.
De Luca really giving it everything. Menchov though is still there, still hanging on. And now Pelizzotti, a third attempt from the Italian. What a racer this man is, really courageous and making another push for it now.
And De Luca tries to catch up a bit, it's not going to be easy. He's looked Menchov right in the face and gets going again.
De Luca turning up the heat now. Sastre there, close to the finishing line. Pelizzotti giving it everything as he always does, but Menchov's there and won't leave him any space to take over. Basso slows down deliberately. Pelizzotti marches ahead, gaining some time. Here comes the sprint for third. De Luca, and he's earned another second. 8 seconds in total on Menchov today. De Luca third, Menchov fourth, Basso fifth.
We saw Ivan Basso today wait for Franco Pelizzotti.
Yeah, I think it was only fair. He managed, in fact, to gather a few seconds advantage over Di Luca and Menchov, and it was only fair to give priority to the classification.
Ivan, do you think the Giro is over?
Well, I've no idea. I think the leaders will have to fight it out until Rome.
Okay, thanks very much.
So here are the new standings. Menchov first, 18 seconds behind is De Luca, Pelizzotti third, 1:39, Sastri fourth, 2:40, Basso fifth, 3:33.
Today your teammates were great. I'd underline the amazing self-sacrifice given by Petacchi. These are things that people understand, that they can share. And who knows, he might not be at the head of your line tomorrow.
We're a great team, a great group. We've shown it from the beginning of this Giro, and at the beginning of the year we've won so much, not only in the Giro d'Italia. I mean, Alessandro alone won 10 races. Pietro won 3, and I won 3, so I think it's a really great team. We all race one for all and all for one. And today they demonstrated once again how special these boys are, especially Alessandro.
The leg is won by the Belgian Seal Dryers, who is only 22 years old and is wearing the best young racer strip dedicated to our Candido Carnaval. Sport is also about the dream. Cycling is about it too. I'll never stop repeating this. Don't let us down, dear boy.
Sabato 30 maggio da Napoli
Saturday, 30th of May, from Naples to Anagni. Anagni is a city which has given the church 5 popes. It's a tough stage, as the race ends on a hill.
Clad in his cyclamen strip, De Luca tries it on also during the Naples-Anagni leg, where the 20 seconds bonus might cover those 18 seconds which separate him from the leader. The flight towards Frosinone, though, is the ultimate blow with which the Russian knocks the Italian out.
And Petacchi, Di Luca's teammate, tries to save the day by winning the sprint and stopping the Russian from gathering too many points. Unfortunately, Alessandro Petacchi's initiative also ends in vain.
Once again, we see the professionalism and generosity of this cyclist.
He sees De Luca is late and throws himself ahead to try and contain the problem and impede Menchov from gathering more and more seconds. He gets only 2, but it's a real slap in the face for De Luca. He'll end the race in 12th position, well behind the Maglia Rosa.
An excellent show of strength by the Belgian. Thomas Vauclair right behind him there, but he can't do anything else except stare ahead at Philippe Gilbert. Clear winner here at Anagni. Second place for Vauclair. There's also a final rush, as you can see, by Garzelli alongside Alan Davis. Sebastian Ino is there as well, and then the rest of the cyclists. Well, today it looked as though Danilo De Luca was perhaps tired, lacked strength, and today he has made no sort of an impression at all. The Giro is Denis Menchov's to lose.
Oh sure, I was thinking the same thing myself yesterday. I gave so much, I tried in every possible way. Not only yesterday, really. I think it's now really impossible, because the time trial is always a race which kind of suits him more than it does me. It means I'll come second, but you know, it's not a problem for me. I believe I've ridden a fantastic Giro d'Italia.
There have been a lot of leading lights in this priceless and emotional centenary Giro. It's the pearl of Italian cycling, a Giro full of twists and one-on-one battles. Petacchi and Cavendish, who fought it out at 70 kilometers per hour.
We can tell you with some degree of certainty that it will be Mark Cavendish to wear the first Maglia Rosa of this 100th Giro d'Italia with his Columbia Air Road team.
Cavendish is he's like lightning. After having been shown a lesson twice by Pataki, he's also demonstrated this year actually to be the superior athlete.
Davis has got himself in a third spot there, and now it's Mark Cavendish who comes around from the outside. Can anybody come back? Mark Cavendish sprinting for home. Davis is on his wheel, going flat out at the moment. Mark Cavendish, he's going to take it. Mark Cavendish takes another win here at another stage.
Pataki leads. Pataki still leads. Can he hold on? Yes, he can. Alessandro Pataki wins by a length.
In the end, Pataki is insurmountable. He creates a huge gap between him and the rest, leaving Farah and Gavazzi to trail behind. He won in Trieste yesterday, and even managed to steal the Maglia Rosa off Cavendish.
Alan Davis, head down. He's got the measure of everybody there. Can Farah come around him? It's Cavendish from a long way out. Another sprint win for the Manxman, with Tyler Farah taking second place.
And that's us 2-all. Mark Cavendish dictates the rhythm with a powerful breakaway, though not an insurmountable one. Makes great use of the work done by his teammates. Pushed the Brit shortly before the finishing line in Avezzano.
Cavendish goes in from the outside. Hunter on the left-hand side. Cavendish and Pataki. Pataki's coming back, and Cavendish, he's not going to make it. Another win.
3-2 then. That's as far as the last breakaways go, and again Mark Cavendish gives a brilliant performance.
I followed Cavendish. I mean, you know how fast they break away. Can't possibly see everything. I just know that the Columbia Air team made a great break with Cavendish. I really tried to keep on his heel when he broke away. He was already 50 metres away in a flash. He was good today, that's all.
Pataki deserves a mention too. He's always ready to sacrifice his racing legs to help his captain De Luca in his fight to keep his Maglia Rosa, the ultimate prize.
The Maglia Rosa is in the lead.
I'm very satisfied. My objective was to get to the time trial in the Maglia Rosa, and there's a good chance now I'll be able to hold on to it.
He's ready to give all on the last available breakaway and play his last cards on the stopwatch, just as he used to do at the start of his career.
Pataki loses his rhythm, partly thanks to Farah's potentially dubious manoeuvre. Pataki now has to be content with third position behind Cavendish and Tyler Farah.
Look, if I'd once done what they did to me today, for example to Cipollini, would have been a completely different story. Let's say there's no respect left in this sport. I guess I have to accept that.
It's thrill after thrill, even in the downhill race, first with the wild Alessandro Bertolini during his descent from the Maloja.
From the Maloja Pass, Bertolini takes off from the group, dives into its descent under the pouring rain, even overtakes 3 motorcycles. Brilliant move by the Italian, very courageous. As soon as he's on the straight though, he gets caught up by another 4 racers.
Then we have Popovic, who launched himself from the Catria.
4 minutes and 15 seconds, that's Jaroslav Popovic's advantage, which means he's gained a minute during the descent. I have to say, looking at the regulator and the flag, while Popovic was driving down this hill at breakneck speed, it actually looked as though the group had caught up with him slightly, not lost further ground. Now, those of you watching at home, please do not imitate these races. If you do ride a bike, even if you try to be a little wild, try and be responsible, because what these professionals do is extremely hazardous. Safety first.
Yes, cool-headedness and calculation are often the right combination to achieve your goal.
Well, I didn't really do much, I just tried my best. I think I had a great result.
Michele Scarponi knows this well after having won the Bressanone Maierhofen. He ran a very good time trial at the Sulmona Benevento race.
Well, I'll say it again, I tried to keep my cool, to sleep well. I really wanted to do well, so today I attacked right away and then managed to clinch this unexpected and brilliant success.
Giro is 100 years old, but it still offers many surprises. Leonardo Bertagnoli, after passing over to Di Giovanni's team at the last moment, wins the Faenza leg on his home roads.
Well, the final goal is Piazza del Popolo, one of the most beautiful squares not only in the region of Romagna, but in the whole of northern Italy. And you can see the stunning tower just gone out of your picture now in Palazzo Manfredi. And that cyclist is Leonardo Bertagnoli. Well done, Leo. An excellent and deserved victory. Broke away for 135 kilometers.
Well, we're expecting other names today, other winners. I guess it's not too bad to have upset Di Luca, but my real question is this. Your only two victories are after a breakaway. You managed to obtain them with your Di Giovanni team, you and Scarponi. Did you do a crash course in breaking away?
No, I just think we're a very determined team. Every day, we're there ready to break away. Even Bertogliati yesterday came in second. We start our race ready to break away, and whoever isn't there is next to the captain, Simone, trying to keep him ahead in the group. In any case, our daily objective is to break away, and until now we've managed pretty well.
Boasson Hagen, the Norwegian, who 2 days before his 22nd birthday wins the Innsbruck Chiavenna and asserted himself as a great adversary for a not-so-distant future.
The flight to Chiavenna is won by the Norwegian Boasson Hagen, with the Columbia High Roads in front of the South African Hunter. The overall classification confirms Di Luca as the Maglia Rosa wearer for the third day.
His companion is Thomas Löfqvist. The young Swede was wearing the Maglia Rosa at San Martino di Castrozza.
Thomas Löfqvist is the leader of the Giro d'Italia by just 2 seconds.
He tries to defend it on the Alpe di Siusi, reaching third place at 5 seconds distance.
Denis Menchov takes the stage and claims the Maglia Rosa. The Swedish racer Löfqvist, the previous leader, third, just in front of Ivan Basso.
Then came the drama under the sun and heat of Monte Petrano. A new star is born.
Wow, it's a ruthless challenge here due to the difficulties of the track due to this intense heat.
The greatness of the Centenary Giro is made even more significant by the arrival of Lance Armstrong, the man some call the alien.
He's surprised there's so much interest in his comeback. Looks like it. Well, for once it's him to take the plunge. Lance Armstrong has so much passion in order to send the message out for cancer research. The man is back out there to raise awareness, ready to train and compete as a true volunteer, as he says.
He's the one who took the Giro to uncharted heights. He's a much-loved and sought-after participant for this race.
Yes, they're not only champions in sport, they're also champions in life. They're people who make themselves heard. In this sense, of course, Lance Armstrong is a real champion. He's the man who defeated cancer, who won 7 Tour de France, has a really unique charisma. He's known all over the world. I'm sure that if another 2 or 3 athletes of his caliber were to race, were to appear in cycling, it would no doubt be a huge boost for cycling worldwide.
He said it stopped in 2005, and here he is again in 2009.
According to me, Armstrong gave so much more than what most people expected from him. At the start of this Giro d'Italia in Venice, no one was betting on him really. Following his collarbone injury, I think he managed to honour his past achievements and the expectation that the crowds had of him. I think the public understood that and they cheered him on till the end.
He came to the Giro despite an operation which has left a titanium plate and 12 screws in his shoulder. It's an immediate and great comeback. The crowd sought him out from the first leg in Venice. They wanted to see him, touch him, to get his autograph or merely take a photo.
He never shirks, he never turns away from children, from the disabled. He gives a smile to every person that he's met from the starting line to the finish. Lance Armstrong has really been the star of stars in this Giro.
He also brought his yellow bracelet representing the Lance Armstrong Foundation for the fight against cancer to the Giro. A bracelet that he himself combined with the pink one of De Luca, the Abruzziamo, because above all, more than ever, this year's Giro message has been one of help and solidarity.
For the success of the Foundation's project, I believe it's best to compete more often and in more events, to have the most opportunities possible to be able to speak. I'm coming back without the least bit of experience with regards to the Giro, and then I will have a 5-week break and take off for the Tour.
Joy, thrills, final sprints and spurts, seconds and gaps. The stars of a Giro experienced by everyone, also by the cycling public.
This morning at the start line there were a lot of people, many enthusiastic fans who were standing there behind the barrier, asked me where they could find this bracelet.
The fans yet again are the true owners of the race. They judge the racers like the blockhouse.
Oh look, it's basically impossible, Alessandra, for me to be able to speak right now. There's a crowd is booing, intensely booing Stefano Garzelli.
Look, for me, in this Giro, no one's given me anything. I did my job and raced, and I don't see why I have to give up second place. You know, I did my job. My team is from Abruzzo. I don't see why I had to allow Danilo De Luca any privileges. He's my teammate, yes, but he's an adversary as well. He doesn't have my jersey, and it's not going to be for the sake of 4 seconds that he wins or loses the Giro. I did my job.
The fans were already warmed up by the Milan show after the performances of the racers.
We weren't sure of the route, therefore we would like to apologise to the public, and we will continue nonetheless with the race. Only tell you that we apologise and we are moving ahead, certain of your understanding, and we just really like to thank you, that's all.
The fans will still watch this anyway. The fans will always be there. These sort of things, to be honest, you know, they're of little interest to real cycling fans. And the important thing now is that in the last 2 or 3 races that the cyclists get to work and give us something to be excited about.
No, this city deserves a great race.
Among the fans, there are the usual masks, such as the fans of Bruzagin, who wear donkey's ears, the inevitable devil on the hills, or the Yeti that have disappeared this year.
You have to stay at the edge of the road and never touch the cyclist. What an idiot this man is.
This applies to the entire Giro because we see it every day.
And here he is, following the race as always, the lost Viking.
Oh, to yet another person who's taken by the excitement doesn't understand that it can be really dangerous to do what he's doing.
The picnics and the card games, waiting for the caravan to pass. The many artistic tributes in the fields and the mountains that the Giro has touched. Banners, sausages and glasses of wine, but all strictly pink. Along with cycling enthusiasts, those that have written the history of the Giro have returned to live the magic of the Giro. Eddie Merckx, the cannibal, who wore the Maglia Rosa in 68, 70, 72, 73 and 74, and Bernard Hinault, Maglia Rosa in 80, 82 and 85. Along with them, there are sporting champions and entertainment personalities such as Gianni Motta, Francesco Mosè, Felice Gimondi, and the ex-rainbow striped jersey champion Paolo Bettini, who now wears the clothes of a TV commentator on a motorbike.
It's a huge debut for a team of commentators. He's leaving his bicycle and jumping on a motorcycle to do his thing. Here's the great Paolo Bettini.
And then there's Carolina Kostner, Andrea Bartoli, Pupi Avati, Josefa Idem and many more. This was the Giro d'Italia of records. The fastest in history, with an overall average of 40.126 kilometers per hour. It was covered around the world by 1,296 journalists and photographed by 397 photographers. From Venice to Rome, it was full of greatness. It offered entertainment and emotions without limits. It brought us champions to admire and excited the crowds with its scenes and its actors. They were all stars.
Il Giro d'Italia
The Giro d'Italia is the most important single sporting event for the Gazzetta, in my opinion. We're proud to have been associated with this event for its entire 100 years of great history. It's the feather in our cap, you could say. This year we've certainly favoured the bigger cities. We started up in Venice, we ended in Rome. However, we also went to Milan, we went to Florence, we were in Naples, we went to the Cinque Terre, and then we saw the mountains of the Alps and the Apennines. We have showed the world the beauty of Italy.
The curtain is closing here in Rome, but the cycling public is not yet ready to say goodbye to the Giro. They're lingering below the Colosseum, where some pink banners still remain. But as Bartoli says, life is like a Giro d'Italia, and the end sometimes comes too soon.
We're a
circus, a grand orchestra. We're also a group. We're racers who don't race with pedals, but with lines and words, photos, images, railings and barriers, tables and chairs, switches and clapperboards, and telephones and microphones. We're a movable city. It's miraculously built 24 hours and then moves. We take possession and then abandon. We're fans, lovers, seducers, deserters. We're employees and recruiters, full-time and interns, amateurs, pure professionals, people who do this for free. We're numbers, names, surnames, nicknames, faces and signatures, eyes, glances. We're men and women on a 3-week chase. We make our chase the best manner of pursuit. In our own way, we truly care. Bye Fabio, we miss you. Marco Pastonesi.
I have gathered you in my heart. You have brought me a rose. It is Italy that tells you, Giro, I love you.